Hey guys, just wanted to make another video real quick. I was just checking my incubator and I got a bunch of pinheads hatching, so I thought I'd take this opportunity to kind of go over my incubator, how it's set up, how I set up pinheads, and just some basic incubation tips. Okay, so this is my incubator here. Very simple, it's just a styrofoam cooler. It's like an old one I got when I ordered steaks online or something. Inside of it, I have about an 18-inch strip of heat tape running along the side, running to a thermostat that I keep at 89 degrees. Obviously it's a little lower because I just opened it and checked it. But you can use any cooler, and you can use a heat mat or heat tape, either one, as long as you hook it up to a thermostat, okay? So incubation temperatures, you're gonna wanna incubate from 87 to about 91 maximum, okay? Crickets are gonna hatch in about 9 to 14 days. Obviously the hotter you do it, the faster they're gonna hatch, right? So I leave mine at 89 degrees and mine usually hatch in about 10 days or so, give or take. It's what's worked for me, it's what I've always used, and I've had great success with it, okay? So I mentioned before, for my lay boxes, I just use little 8-ounce deli cups, and there's a good reason for that, okay? It's so that when I put them in my incubator, I can put them in a larger, I don't know what this is, maybe 15 ounce or no, probably double that, 16 ounce, I don't know, just the larger deli cups that you see at reptile shows. So I can take the smaller lay box that's full of eggs, I can put it in the larger deli cup, and then I can put a lid on it like that, and I can put that in the incubator, right? This does two things. First one, most importantly, is it holds the humidity in, because that soil needs to remain moist as the crickets are incubating. And the secondly, and I'd say even more importantly probably actually, is that as the crickets hatch, they'll jump out of the small cup into the lower cup, making it very easy to collect all your pinheads and not get any substrate in your bins, okay? I know there's several other ways that people do it. Some people directly in their incubator, they'll just put a bunch of egg flats at the bottom and then just leave open lay boxes. The pinheads jump out of the lay boxes onto the egg flats, and then they'll pull the egg flats out and shake them off. I found that's an extremely messy way to do it. This style right here keeps every lay box completely contained and catches all of your pinheads in the bottom. It makes it extremely convenient to do, and it's the best way I've found to do this. So let me show you here. This is the one that's hatching. Unfortunately, I took I forget what day it's from. I think it's from like the 4th or something. Anyway, probably actually later than that, or the 9th, I believe, maybe. Yeah, because today's the 19th. Okay, so you can see all the pinheads there. This is what I'm talking about. See at the bottom here, that's all full of pinheads. But you can see as they're hatching in this cup, they have nowhere to go but to jump down inside of this larger deli cup, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, I have my bin set up here. I'll just take this out. You can see there's still a bunch in there. I don't know, it's probably not gonna focus. Anyway, I'm just gonna put that down there for now, and we can see this is all pinheads here, okay? So I have my bin already set up here with my egg flats, just egg flats in there, nothing else right now, okay? And like I've mentioned before, the most important thing for pinheads is humidity. They need a ton of humidity. They're gonna be molting, you know, at least once a day probably for the next week or so. And so they can dry out super, super easily. And I've had issues with this. This was probably the hardest thing for me to get down when I first started, was that these pinheads would dry out and they would all die. Okay, so first thing what I do is I wet all my egg flats really well. So this is just a regular sprayer with just water in it. So I'm just gonna spray, wet them all down real good. This is another technique I've been using to deliver hydration to the crickets too, is not putting a water bowl in there and just spraying it every day. Yeah, it's a little tedious, you know, because I have to spray it every day, but it has been actually working pretty well, and it's something that I've been experimenting with. Okay, so I have my cup full of pinheads here. So I'm just gonna knock it all down to the bottom. Usually I'll weigh them out, just so I can have an estimation on how many you have. 1 gram equals about 1,000 crickets. This is probably right around a gram or so, maybe a little over. But you can see them all there crawling at the bottom there, and they're all crawling up. So what I'll do is I'll just knock them all down, and then I'll sprinkle them all inside. Now, there's a thing called carpeting that kills pinheads basically instantly. And that's basically exactly what it sounds like. It's when all the pinheads basically pile up on each other and suffocate each other. So that's another reason why you want to kind of use a larger container, so that as they hatch, because this thing will fill up, you know, there'll be maybe, you know, a 1/4 inch of pinheads on there all on top of each other, and they'll basically just suffocate each other and die if you don't catch it quick enough either. So that's another thing with the incubator, is right around a day 9 or 10 you want to catch them, or else they will carpet inside your deli cups and you'll come back to just a cup full of dead pinheads. Okay, so now that I've emptied out all my pinheads into my bin, I'm gonna take my lay box that's still hatching. Now you can see on the side there's still eggs inside here that are not hatched yet. These are gonna hatch over the next 3 days or so. So I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna put it back in my bigger deli cup. I used to just leave them in the bin here and just let them all hatch out the next few days, but I found that if I put it back inside my incubator, I get a way better hatch rate. And so I'll leave that in there and I'll check it, you know, every day for the next 3 days or so, okay? One thing that's very important, if you're gonna use this technique, make sure you put the smaller cup in the large jelly cup, and do not forget that. I've forgotten to do that before, and I've come to this thing just full of pinheads, and I had to bang them out and, you know, knock them out the side, and I ended up losing a bunch, and it was just a huge nightmare, okay? So if you use this method, just make sure you have something to contain the pinheads in, because they'll get everywhere. Even these deli cups that I use, they're just the normal deli cups for crested geckos and stuff, and they have the little holes in the side. So even if you just use a deli cup like this, and you put a lid on it just like that, and you put this in the incubator, this isn't good enough because they'll still crawl out the little holes on the side, right? So you need to have some sort of larger container in your incubator to catch them all, so that you don't lose a bunch. Another thing that a huge mistake I've made in the past is make sure, obviously this is self-explanatory, but you keep your probe in your incubator. One time I did exactly what I said just not to do. I accidentally put the smaller cup in there without putting it in the larger cup. I came back in here and this thing was just full of pinheads, right? And so I took my probe out, and then I unplugged it, and I knocked it all out, and then I put everything back in here, but I forgot to put the probe back in there. Man, I came back and that thing was probably at like 120 degrees. Surprisingly, it didn't kill them all, but it was really sketchy. So that's just learn from my mistake, and make sure your probe is always inside of there, okay? So now that I have my pinheads in my bin here, what I'm gonna do, so I don't give them a water dish for the first probably 2 weeks or so. What I use is just potatoes, just normal cut potatoes, very simple. I just cut them into spears like this, and then I'll just place them on top like this, just all around so that they can get to them. I'm also going to be spraying, you know, pretty heavily each day too, just to keep the humidity in there. So the potatoes will act as a hydration source and as a food source. I also will put in my deli lid full of just my normal grain or corn-based feed, right? I'll just put that just like that. And so that's it, you know. These things are gonna grow very, very quickly, you know. Like I said in my last video, I wouldn't doubt it that crickets are one of the fastest growing insects out there. I mean, they double, triple, you know, even probably 100x their size in like 2 weeks. And they're constantly molting too. So that's another reason why I can't harp on enough that you need a lot of humidity in there, right? So anyway, I will leave them in this bin. They will grow until adult in this very bin. I won't move them or anything. They'll probably take about 5 weeks or so to reach adulthood, and probably only about 4 weeks or so to reach sexual maturity, to where I can put a lay box in them and complete the cycle and breed them. Other than that, just make sure you give them enough hydration, keep it misted. Think of what else. I think that's it for the pinheads for now. But anyway, follow along I'll keep documenting this very bin and just show you how I raise them up. We'll go through the juvenile stage and all that. It's very easy. Same as you would keep adult crickets, okay? But if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Don't forget to follow us on all social media, Murderous Morphs, Morph Market, Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz, okay? Thanks, guys.